to-do heads, you porcelain pirates. I don't know, as usual, I am workshopping the name, but hello, everybody tuning in, and welcome to a live episode of the number 2 show. I am your host, Rafe Williams. We just finished the number 1 show, the Rizzuto Show, and now I'm here in number 2 show studios in Burbank, California, to bring you this live, wonderful show live from a bathroom stall. And we got all kinds of stuff in store for you today. What's the likelihood you've interacted with the serial killer and didn't know it? Do the Rolling Stones still got the juice? All that and more today on the number 2 show. But first, as usual, we start off the show with a special segment I like to call 15 Minutes with Riz, because we only get 15 minutes with the man himself, the Kimosabi of the number 1 show, the Rizzuto Show, Scott Rizzuto, ladies and gentlemen.
Now, when should I start my clock?
I think right now.
I think right now, too. Like the first time you actually address me.
I believe
is
so,
when
too.
my 15 minutes starts. So that's what I've been doing.
That's what I agree with. And we're getting some nice little slides. I might even get a timer put up, but I kind of like that I don't know when you leave. That's my favorite
I got
part
my listen, I got my timer.
That's right. This segment is called 15 Minutes with Riz because he has only guaranteed me 15 minutes on every show, and he will abruptly leave in the middle of a conversation if he has to.
Yep.
But once
I got stuff to do.
He does have stuff to do. He's a busy man. We just did a 4-hour show before this, so there's a lot going on. But it's been I just got back today. It's been a crazy weekend. We had a long weekend. We saw Limp Bizkit. I saw the Rolling Stones. We'll get to all that later. But now, Riz, I want to bring something up, and I thought you would be a good person to talk to this about because of your podcast, Stupiracy. And the thing that I would like to talk about is I read an article, and people say it's likely the amount of people that likely think and they interacted with a serial killer. In a new poll, 22% of people believe it's likely that they've interacted with a serial killer in their life, and 8% say they watch true crime shows when they go to sleep. Now, I wanted to talk to you about this because you have a podcast, Stupiracy, where you kind of you and Tim McKernan. It's a great podcast. Everybody should go check it out. Where you guys kind of straddle the line of true crime.
It's weird history. It's stupid conspiracy theories. It's true crime stuff. So, do you think that I have interacted?
Well, I'm just curious if you think, I'm going to give the number real quick, 818-532-1420, 818-532-1420. We're going to go through this. If you think you've interacted, met, perhaps brushed shoulders with a serial killer at some time in your life, call in. Let's talk about it. I'm interested in that. I'm curious if this is a true statistic or if you think people's obsession with true crime has made them perhaps look for. Do you think these are inflated numbers?
So true crime is so popular right now, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the thing, whether it be in podcast form or whether it be a Netflix show or Hulu show. Yeah, it's something that you put on and right before you go to bed and you dream about maybe being involved in one of these things. It's like Only Murders in the Building.
Yeah, it is.
They were fans of the true crime podcast and they got themselves involved somehow.
Yeah, I even have dreams sometimes that I've helped cover up a murder. And it's come home. My chickens have come home to roost. I've had like a recurring dream where I'm like, oh, man, I helped someone hide up. And they say that's like a dream about maybe something you're ashamed of, or it's just it's the worst case scenario, a manifestation of something small.
See, I wonder if it's when you dream about being in one of these things, are you dreaming about being a victim or the murderer or the person who solves the crime?
I have been chased by a cloaked man trying to inject me with something. I have been investigated where I had helped a friend cover up. It wasn't that I was the murderer, but I was an accomplice. So I think that's something with guilt. But it's funny how even in your brain it manifests into some sort of true crime. The full story, for full disclosure here, many people say they've had a close call with death, maybe a car accident, almost being hit by a car, bad injury, illness, or eating at the Golden Corral. But also a new story. This survey said 22% of people believe it's likely they've interacted with a serial killer in their life, and 8% say it's, quote, very likely. I don't know what the difference between those two is, but 8% are very sure. Serial killers are people who kill multiple people over periods of time, like months and years, and opposed to mass murderers who kill a lot of people all at once. We're not talking about school shooters here. We're talking about people. We're talking about the Dahmers of the world, okay?
Yeah.
As of 2020, America had 3,613 documented serial killers throughout history, okay? England, very distant second with only 176, because this is as American as apple pie. We love to kill people over time and hide them in our basement. Seems to be our best favorite thing to do.
I think the real question is, how many serial killers are out there that have not been caught?
Yes, good question. And is that why, is this amount of serial killers, or why people are so sure they've crossed paths with one at some point? Maybe it's that. Is it our obsession with true crimes and podcasts? The same poll, in fact, said 57% of people admitted to consuming true crime content. So the crossover is huge. Around half of them say it's something they watch or listen to at least once a month, and 28% say they're so obsessed they enjoy true crime a few times a week. And 10% in this poll said it's a daily thing for them.
Yeah, that's weird.
But why are we so crazy about it? Why are we? Because I feel like we're the only country in the world where we also have shows where the serial killers are the heroes.
Okay, well, think about Murder, She Wrote. Think about Columbo. Think about NCIS or CSI. All these are true crime shows, except they're made up stories.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we got Netflix, who, they have enough money to put together a documentary team and actually research real true crime. This is not a new thing.
No, it's not. I mean, dude, you think about all the crime procedurals that have lasted forever on network television, whether it's Law and Order,
right.
CSI, like all the things you said.
These are all true crime things. It is not a new thing. The new thing is us getting access to a ton of it all at once.
Right.
So, we're able to get obsessed over it. And the fact that we're now doing the true ones, I think that may be warping people.
Yeah, I think it could be pushing us that way, because 66% of people said they like true crime because they have a, quote, interest in mysteries or like cases being solved, kind of what you just said. But others have interest in the forensic science, psychology, understanding criminals. And 8% say they've watched true crime to go to sleep. I'm guilty of this, okay? I actually listened to last podcast. I'll listen to a true crime podcast about Jack the Ripper as I fall asleep at night. That's how inundated I am in it. So,
do you think there's a percentage of people that watch it and go, okay, I see the mistakes they've made. Here's what I could do to get away with it?
Honestly, yes. And I think about this a lot. There's a show called Snapped. Now, it may not be of the true crime serial killer ilk, but there are times that I'll be watching Snapped with my significant other, and she will point out where they went wrong in covering up their crime. Like the woman kills her husband, runs him over with a car, buries him next to the pool, and she's like, she should have planted a tree over him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it almost feels like they're doing research on how to get rid of me. And it makes me wildly uncomfortable.
Now, do you think, if somebody commits a crime, and nowadays they look at, what did they Google in the months leading up to the murder? Are they looking at maybe Netflix history? Are they looking to see what they watched? Because I think that should play into it now, too.
Yeah, could you imagine your Netflix queue being Exhibit A on your murder trial?
Yeah, I mean, right? Don't they look? They look at their Google, search history. One of the first things they look, when they're investigating somebody, are they going to start looking at Netflix histories?
I mean, they probably should. If somebody's watching, if you're up for Murder One, and you've been watching a whole hell of a lot of forensic files, I'm just saying, what are you getting so deep in forensic files?
I love true crime. I love these procedural shows.
I'm curious why do you think that we have so many serial killers here? Do you feel like that's become a shortcut for fame?
But do we?
I don't know. I mean, according to this study, we have way more than any other country. And I'm just curious if we're the only ones classifying
We also
it.
have a lot of people in this country. We have, 300-something million?
Yeah, that's true. We do have a lot.
We have a lot of people in this country. Do we have a lot of serial killers? I don't know.
I mean, we've had over 3,000 since they coined the term. England's had 176. But there may be some countries that aren't logging it. You know what I mean? China's got a lot of people. I don't know what's going on over there.
Now, what was the definition of serial killer?
Someone who kills multiple people over an extended period of time.
Okay, so that's also in the way you say that. Lot gangbangers,
I don't know if that counts as serial killer.
but that fits the definition. Gang crime.
I mean, that's a good question. I don't know if that gets lumped in. I would think that would be considered gang crimes. Like,
But does it? That's a valid question to ask.
all right.
Because you're thinking your Jeffrey Dahmers, your Richard Ramirez's, your John Wayne Gacy's. That in your head is a serial killer.
Right. Because of everything we've seen.
But by the definition of it, there could be, gang-related violence that does count as serial killing.
It says here, researchers use the term serial killer to describe someone who's committed at least 3 murders at different times and in different places without a significant break between the murders. They may also consider the circumstances of each murder, such as whether the killer felt dominant over the victims or if the victims were vulnerable. So it looks like there's a little bit of discretion, being used by investigators. So I don't know, man. Could be. Maybe gang murders and things like that do get lumped in.
Maybe that gets lumped into there. These are questions we should ask.
These are questions we should ask.
Because maybe those numbers are padded a little bit.
Well, here's a question I want to ask you.
Yeah.
Because of this study, now that we've went through the true crime of it, do you think you have ever crossed paths with a serial killer?
Yes.
You do?
Oh, 100%.
Do you have a specific, or do you just think because of the amount of people
I just think the amount of people that you as well, the amount of people that, we travel a lot.
Yeah.
We, do a lot of events. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the lines.
Yeah.
I have not only crossed paths with, I have shaken the hand of a serial killer.
Yeah.
That's how deep I'll go into this.
So you think you've shaken, shaken? What is the right word?
I have shook.
You have pressed flesh
Uh-huh.
with a person who has taken the
Multiple
life of-
lives.
Multiple lives.
I don't know who. I can't tell you a face. I can't tell you when it happened. But I'm sure on the thousands of people that I've met,
Yeah.
tens of thousands.
I've met some weird people too.
I've met some weird people, but usually the weird people, serial killer wouldn't necessarily look weird.
Yeah. Well, my friend was just telling me, and this is wild to me. I would agree with you over the amount of people that I have met post shows and in my travels. Statistically, I know I've at least met a murderer
Yes.
who has gotten away with
100%.
murder, right? Maybe not a serial killer, but I would be willing to bet that I've shook hands with somebody that's like, oh, yeah, I murdered someone and when I was 18 and got away with it or something. Maybe not a recent murder, but I definitely have. I probably shook hands with somebody who should be in prison for murder.
Oh, there have been,
statistically speaking,
there have been times where the local news will show somebody who's committed a crime, and we all look at each other and going, I remember this person from that event.
Yeah.
It's happened.
Yeah, I had just had a friend tell me a story about a friend of theirs went on a date with a guy, got back to his place. She got weirded out. Was like, this doesn't feel right. And he was like making jokes. She was like, well, I didn't put anything in your drink or anything. Like, just hang out. She just said it had weird vibes. And she booked. She bailed. She's like, you know what? I'm going to go home. I'm going to bail on this. And months later, serial killer came out.
Turns out it's him.
Yeah. Killed like 3 or 4
the
women.
bullet.
He had like women's body parts in his refrigerator
Okay.
when she was there. And I'm
When
like,
she was there,
she was like in this guy's apartment. That's how close she was to being a victim. It was like the guy went home with Dahmer that left early. Like, he was like a total Dahmer guy. I don't know if he was eating them or not, but he was dismembering them. And I think this was like out in L.A. But my friend was like, yeah, dude, my roommate literally went on. And I mean, my old neighbor went on a date with the guy, 3 dates with the guy that was in the, what's his name, sex cult, the one with the girl from,
the Nixum.
yeah, the Nexium cult.
Yeah.
Apparently,
One with the chick from Smallville.
Yeah, the chick from Smallville's doing time, and Keith Rainier, I believe is his name.
Yep.
Well, the dude that runs Keith Rainier's PR department, lives in St. Louis, Missouri. He's on Tinder. He's out there going on Tinder dates. She was 3 or 4 dates deep before she Googled him. So, I mean, just think about that, dude. With Tinder and all these dating apps, the access that some of these serial killers would have to people now.
It's fish in a barrel. Fish in a barrel, Rafe. Got to be careful.
Could be. I'm kind of curious what other criminals we've met, you know?
Well, I know I've met a bank robber.
Yeah?
Yeah. Went to school at one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, robbed a bank.
Full-on bank, or was
Full
this like
on,
a bank and a schnook situation?
No, full-on bank. His girlfriend was a teller, and they were in cahoots. He passed a note to her and wound up getting caught. Did some serious time for that, too.
Was he armed?
No, because she was the teller. He had a mask on. He wrote a note, and she said she was robbed. I don't know who did it. Wound up being the boyfriend. And the whole
it was her
scheme
boyfriend?
unraveled. Yeah.
Was she in on it then?
She was in on it, yeah.
Oh, boy.
But that's robbing a bank.
Yeah. I mean, you just had an accomplice. I wonder if did he get less time for not being armed?
I think he did over 10 years.
That sucks. That's a lot. But I think you can do like 25 to 30 or something for like bank robbery. Well, if you think you met, that's the end of our time with Scott Rizzuto. I appreciate him being here when he was here. He's gone now. If you think you've met a serial killer, maybe you have a story, something that was just felt a little off or weird or a little spooky, call me at 818-532-1420 and we'll talk about it. Meanwhile, let's take a little break from a word from our sponsors, serial killers. That's right. Go to serialkillers.com and we'll match you with the perfect serial killer to come and murder you. And we're back. I hope you went to serialkillers.com and thoroughly enjoyed finding a serial killer to disembowel you, cut your head off, have sex with your dead body, or whatever you're into at serialkillers.com. Trademark, that's a property of Hubbard Radio, serialkillers.com, brought to you by Hubbard Inc. That will probably get taken out in post, but it was funny to say here live on the air right now. All right. I think right now, let me see if we got any phone calls brewing. I think we do. Ooh, looky there. Got a couple. All right. I'm going to take some phone calls from fans. Feel free to send us a message in the app. I'm trying to monitor the chat or call in, or you can also email. I'm going to get a specific number 2 show email by next week, but this week you can still email me at Rafe at 1057 The Point. That's Rafe at 1057 The Point. Make the subject line number 2 show, and we will pull them bad boys up and maybe read them on the air. And even if it's not today, I might read them in a future episode. But right now, I got people on the line, so I'm gonna talk to some folks, see what they're up to today. Let's take our first caller, shall we? Here we go. Top of the tank, talking shit with Rafe. Welcome to Talking Shit with Rafe.
Good morning, man.
Good morning, my guy.
Morning, man. I got a question for you, some advice I need. I had a buddy the other day, known him my whole life. Man, come over and bought him a steak, bought my sister. He's marrying my sister. Bought her some crab legs and had dinner with him. He got piss-faced drunk and decided to beat the shit out of me. He punched my front teeth out. He beat me like I'd wiped my bloody nuts on his grandma's teddy bear.
Well, there's a colloquialism you don't hear every day. All right, hold on. Back up the truck.
Yeah.
Start from the colloquialism. He beat me like I wiped my bloody nuts on his grandmother's teddy bear, which I can tell you this, that ain't gonna catch on. But I like the imagery. I don't see that one catching on. All right, he knocked your teeth out. Go from there.
He said I pissed on him, and I by no means pissed on him. He punched my front teeth out.
All right.
Yeah, and he's having a baby with my sister as well here in November.
Okay.
I'm debating pressing charges on him, or should I just beat the shit out of him and say, leave me alone? Or should I just be a quote unquote bigger man and let it go?
Well, let's dissect that together. Do you have a name, by the way? You don't have to give me your whole name if you don't want. Maybe a first name, something I can call you.
Well, Captain Porkstick, my name is Judman.
Judman. All right, Judman. So you got your teeth knocked out. I'm going to go back through this with you. Recap. Sister's marrying a guy possibly pregnant with his baby. He comes over, does the right thing, brings steaks and crab legs. So far, I like the guy.
I made dinner.
Oh, I thought you said he brought that. Oh, man, you made the steaks
sir,
and crab legs and then he knocked your teeth out for it?
Yes, sir.
Oh, well, that changes my whole opinion. If he brought a porterhouse, I was like, maybe you got to take one for the team. But now I know you provided the refreshments. This is a whole different animal we're dealing with. So let me ask you this, man.
I let this man cook.
Go ahead.
I let this man pick his own steak out,
Damn,
and
bro.
I didn't care for the price. Like, get what you want, man. Go ahead.
Yeah. And he turned you into a permanent whistler. He turned you into a whistle man.
Yeah, I can't whistle. Ray, I cannot whistle.
Oh, man.
I can't whistle.
The travesty of this, I got to tell you. I got to be honest, man, I'm still spun out over the whole bloody nuts on my grandma's teddy bear comment. That's one of the wildest colloquialisms I've ever heard anyone try to get over on any, and I commend you for it. I don't know, is that a family? Did you just come up with that yourself? I've never heard that in my life. You're not going to find that in the Urban Dictionary. We're going to put it in there today. It's going to go in it's going in the Riz Dictionary. It's going in the number 2 dictionary of beat me like I wiped my bloody nuts on his grandma's teddy bear. Why does his grandma have a teddy bear in that story? We don't know. Why would your nuts be bloody in that story? Also skipped over that part. Just tried to get a really crazy colloquialism to catch on. I like your style. I like the phrasing. But I got to say, for that reason, I'm out. Okay, let's get back to the story. I got to get some clarification on something from you, all right? I got to get some clarification on, we kind of glazed over, a little bit. How did he come to the conclusion that you pissed on him? You said he was drunk and confused. Were you guys in a bathroom together and a little dribble got on? Were you guys doing the old Festus pee outside by the situation? Like, where at any point would he have possibly come up with the idea that you may have pee-peed all over him?
I was talking to my sister, and she was ready to leave. We were in her vehicle, and he was not ready to leave. He was in front of the vehicle. I was behind the door there, between the passenger and the back passenger door, and I leaned against the truck, and I peed probably more likely on my shoes than anywhere. And I got back down in the truck and talked to my sister, and he came up and said I pissed on him, and all I could think to say, instead of hitting him back like a normal person, all I could think to say was, what the fuck is wrong with you, and why are you doing this? I didn't piss on you, dude. But
perhaps a pee-pee river, like the opening of Game of Thrones, like just went under the truck, and he was on the other side, and he could hear like da 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 da, and then some pee touched his shoe, and he decided he was a Targaryen, and you were a fucking Stark, and it was houses divided, and he came across the truck, and he took your teeth as a penance. Let me ask you this: did he get you in one? Was this one punch? He just caught you square, or what happened?
He hit me over 15 times. That was accounted for by one of the witnesses.
Damn, brother!
And I'm just standing there like, "Yep, that's my face, bro. That's my face. Go ahead."
Holy shit!
My main concern was, why are you doing this, and what is wrong with you? Rather than getting punched in the face, that's second nature. I could take that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is.
In a moment of honesty, I'm going to ask you, were you drunk?
I was not drunk. I should have passed the blood test.
How do you know that? And how could you confirm that for me? Just confident that you could have?
I didn't go. I'm quite confident that if the police would have showed up, I would have been completely coherent.
Well, let's get down to that's clarification I needed on the story. So it sounds like you guys were drinking together. He had a few too many. You took a nice outside, you took what I like to call, the country pee. He took the outside pee-pee by the truck. He somehow thought he got peed on. Things got heated. Now you're in a conundrum because do you like this guy normally outside of this incident?
I considered him one of my best friends for 30 years.
Okay. So there's a history here, a friendship.
We've gotten into fights, of course, but never once have I've never gotten into a fight with anyone that's broke my teeth out. And I've been in a lot of them.
Well,
but
can't say that anymore. How old are you?
Yeah. No. I'm 31.
31. And now you got no more. Lost your baby teeth, lost your regular teeth. Do you have new teeth? Are you getting new teeth? Or are you just going to be, is your tongue going to look like it's in jail for a while?
My analogy for it is I'm going to look like Lloyd from Dumb and Dumber. Hey, Harry, old buddy, old pal, do you want to come in for a midnight cap with me?
So it sounds like you got a history of being pals. Maybe this night got away from you guys. Are you excited about the fact that he ended up with your sister since he's a friend? Do you think how you feel about all that?
It's iffy. I'm happy for him because I know what he'll do and what he won't do to her.
Okay.
But, how he'll treat her. But just the same, I don't want my nephew and my niece to be raised by a piece of shit and get the wrong morals. I can't say he's a piece of shit, but what he did was really shitty.
Yes. Because you just made two diametrically opposing statements where you're like, I'm glad that he's with my sister because I know he's good and won't do these things. But on the other hand, I don't want my nephew or niece raised by a piece of shit. And I'm like, it sounds like you have higher standards for your niece and nephew than you do for your sister. Let's get them up there. You're in a tough spot, man. Here's what I would say. If we can get it worked out, if you're not mortally wounded and you're not in a situation where like, hey man, this guy's if you don't feel like he's dangerous and that this was and I don't know if he's apologized to you or if you guys have talked since. Have you guys spoken?
Not even. Have not spoken. He has not attempted to apologize. He's more so put blame on me, said, well, if I wouldn't have pissed on him, then I wouldn't have got punched in the face, which that is a completely narcissistic statement.
Yeah. Unless you did piss on him, in which case, I'll be honest. I got a buddy, Steve. I love my buddy, Steve. His favorite prank was to piss on your feet underneath the toilet stall. I told Steve. Yeah, it's different, but it's the same if you've been warned, Like I told Steve one time, I go, hey, man, don't piss on me. If you piss on me again, I'm gonna crumple you up. And he did it, and I hit him in the chest and crumpled him up in a bathroom stall. Now, we're still buddies. I made a guarantee. I delivered. This is a little, we're towing the line of swamp justice here. But it sounds like you didn't offend. It sounds like he just took swamp justice to a whole new level without a real offense. Now, you have to decide, do you want to try this in the court, or do you want to try this in the court of swamp justice? Now, the court of swamp justice is what I'm going to say. Now, let's just say this guy's marrying your sister. Here's my advice. You don't want your niece and nephew to start off with their father in jail, right? That doesn't sound like a great start for the baby. You don't want your sister to be sad. Obviously, she still loves the guy. Hopefully, she stuck up for you at some point during this. I don't know your relationship. I don't want to delve into that. What I would say is what's that?
He pushed her out of the way to get to me.
Okay.
She had gotten out of her, and somewhere through the chaos, she had tried to stop him, and he pushed her out of the way.
Right. Well, I could see where, he was seeing red, he was drunk. So let's just get down to the brass tacks here, okay? This is the deal. I don't think you get the law involved. If you can get your teeth fixed, maybe try to work it out with them. If you can have a conversation about it, and it seems like it can go well, maybe be like, hey, man, you were drunk. This happened. Can we bury the hatchet? It's hard to be the bigger man in that scenario. Maybe that's the right thing to do. Maybe you can work it out. You guys have been friends for 30 years. I know I've had some friendships of mine where I'm like, hey, man, we tussled. We were drinking. Things got out of control. Listen, if you want to go, you want another go around, you want a second try, let's do it. Let's get it out of our system. If you need to, pop me a couple times, maybe we get that done, within reason. Maybe you get that offer on the table.
I've considered him one of my best friends, but as of late, as of the situation, dude, I don't want nothing to do with him, and it's going to hurt not being able to see my niece and nephew, but I don't want them anywhere. I mean, if I do see them, I'm going to beat the shit out of them.
Oh, so it's on site with you.
Every fight we've ever gotten into.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, there's two ways that can go.
I'll take it as a threat.
You could do that, and maybe that'll square things up, and you guys can dust off and say, well, quid pro quo, tit for tat, nuts across grandma's teddy bear. Huh?
I'm gonna kick him in the nuts and make him spit them out.
Okay, well, that's
broke my teeth here.
All right. Well, it sounds like you've made a decision. My advice is try to work it out for the sake of your sister and your niece. Maybe just let things cool down for a while. Cooler heads prevail. Maybe he'll start feeling a little bit guilty. Now, if you need medical bills or something like that for your teeth, then I don't know what we're getting into there. But other than that, I don't think sending him to jail. It's hard not to. You have every right to press charges if you want to, but I think that, you got to take one for the team here and at least give your sister and your niece and your nephew a chance, especially if you have a history of liking this guy and being friends with him and you don't think he's a total piece of shit. Then I think you got to not give him a pass, but I think you gotta let this play out in the court of swamp justice. Yes, sir, you, sir. All right. Thanks for calling in, man. I'm dropping in. Bye.
Bye.
All right. He's out. We're tagging somebody else in. I got to call in the queue. Call number 2. All right. Welcome to Talking Shit with Rave. Who am I talking to, and who knocked your teeth out, and what nuts did you drag across your grandma's teddy bear?
Hi, Rafe. It's Shelley.
Hi, Shelley.
Fortunately, neither of those things has ever. Hi, honey. Neither of those things have ever happened to me. Thank God. I have a story about John Wayne Gacy. If you want to hear it.
Hell yeah! Now we're getting into the actual topic. Let's dig in. Now, is this a personal story about John Wayne Gacy?
Personal to my husband, yeah.
All right, that's what I want to hear. I just want to make sure you weren't reading me his Wikipedia page. Go ahead. Sorry, you go.
Okay, we grew. I got to give you the backstory.
Make it quick. Remember we're live.
Okay, let me talk.
Okay.
Central Indiana. He has family in northern Chicago, and he was about 10, 70s, in the mid-70s. He went to a birthday party for his cousin, and his name was Ray.
Okay.
And they had outdoor, and he came as the clown.
Whoa.
And he swears to this day. And what happened, Troy tells me this all the time. He was very weird, and I may be intoxicated, but Troy comes from a big Italian family, and Dad didn't like it and pretty much kicked his ass and threw him out. And Troy said he had weird makeup on. It wasn't normal clown. It was just weird, and the whole thing was weird and freaky. And yep, swear to God, he swears to this day that happened. And it always creeped me out. He was so it's like 78 if I can remember. So he would have been around 9 or 10 years old.
And then it was John Wayne Gacy.
It was John, yeah.
Now you're saying John Wayne Gacy was inebriated and they threw him out because they thought he was drunk?
Yes, sir.
Whoa, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what's weird about that is that he had two. I actually know a little bit of John Wayne Gacy history. He had two clowns. One was called Pogo, and the other was called Patches.
That's it.
And Pogo the clown was a happy clown, whereas Patches was a more serious character he played. I wonder if he was like, he showed up as Patches and got weird. But you're saying the Italian dad,
maybe
the Italian dad kicked his ass and threw him out of the party?
Yeah, the family is, well, let's just say really Italian. Troy's never had to, very Italian and strong.
Okay. What do we mean by that?
I don't.
I'm Italian.
Okay,
What do you mean, very Italian?
Okay. So the town we grew up in, his grandfather was really well known. And Troy, when we were dating many years ago, he said, "I've never gotten a ticket. I've never gotten pulled over. If I got pulled over, I always get let go, and it's because of my grandpa's connections." I swear to God, this happened. We were.
Oh, so when you say very Italian, you mean connected.
Exactly.
Okay, now I'm with you. Okay, so basically, this guy got gabagooled. John Wayne Gacy got the gabagool. He got the.
And then right after that, everything's coming out.
That's interesting. Wow. Yeah. What a convergence of circumstances for a serial killer to do a mob kids party, and then get his ass kicked by a mobster. Just think of all the different types of trauma. That was a cauldron of trauma. Okay? That was any kid going to that birthday party was going to have a repressed memory that day, whether they liked it or not. It was either going to be with Pogo or watching Tony Soprano beat the shit out of Patches, one way or the other. No kid was leaving there unscathed. And that's why I love the 70s, because it made people tough. That's a wild story, Shelley.
It made you tough.
Well, thanks for calling in and sharing that. That's nuts, dude. So, that's a guaranteed brush with a serial killer. That's not a you think you met a serial killer. That's you met a serial killer. And just think about this. Let's take the mob out of it.
I called him out on it a couple of times. I did. I said, "You're full of crap. That's not true." And I got it confirmed. So,
well, I'll take your word for it. I think
I have to take his.
The thing that's interesting to me about that is if we take the mob out of it and we take the serial killer out of it, someone's dad still beat the shit out of a clown in front of a bunch of little kids. You still got to repress memory no matter what. You still got to go. That's a therapy. You saw a clown get his ass kicked like he drug his bloody nuts across your grandma's teddy bear. Am I right, people? Come on, call back, killing it. All right, Shelley. I love you. I'll talk to you later, okay?
Thanks. Bye.
Oh, my Lord. Was that our last call? All right. Well, that was plenty. Holy smokes. What a day. Missing teeth and missing memories. Wow. Really covered it all in the phone call section. Let's take a quick break from our sponsor, BetterHelp.com. BetterHelp.com will help you get those repressed memories of serial killer parties and getting your teeth knocked out by your future brother-in-law right out of your head. So let's take a quick break and hear from them. All right, and we're back. Thanks for joining me here on the Number 2 Show. What a day to be alive. We've been talking about a lot of cool stuff. I'm going to do a quick little segment here. Let me go through the chat. Do you see anything good in there, Zane, you wanted to pull or no? There's people in there talking. There's people in there chatting. Let's see here. I want to pull this. I got a very long email, but I want to give it its just due. So I'm going to do one email for the email section today. And then we'll call it. It's been a wonderful show. So right now, bear with me, folks, because this was a long email. I'm going to try to give you the bullet points, but I do think anytime somebody messages the show or emails in, this is the Glory Hole Mailbag, brought to you by Speed Stick. That's right. Do you stink? Use Speed Stick. I'm just going to keep throwing out sponsors until somebody gets on board. All right. Hey, Rafe Master 3000. And whatever guest is in with you today, no one. My husband left me a few years ago, a little after he got a new job at a place you are all super familiar with and even promote on the radio. Okay, this seems cryptic. We loved together while we were separated. I think that means lived, but he was never home, either work or going out with friends until 3, 4, 5 a.m. We got together at 15 or 16. We are currently 30. It took me apart when he first left because I was a new mom. I'm sorry, that sucks. We gave our first son we had at 16 to 17 to an awesome family and had a 2 or 3-year-old when he first left. So it sounds like you gave someone up for adoption early on, and then you had another child. After years of him leaving, I finally felt comfortable to try to move on. When I did and found an awesome boyfriend who wanted to not just be part of my life, but my son's as well, I told my husband. And he did the thing I thought I wanted and said he wanted me back. I said yes. A year after being together, he's still constantly not coming home until 5 a.m. I went through his phone for the first time after being together for 10 years at that point. I found out he was with a girl he tried to force me to be friends with because I have none. That's sad as fuck. For 3 years. So before he was with her, before he left, and after I broke up with my boyfriend for him, again, I found this out about 6 months after getting back together. There's a lot more trauma that has happened to go into all of this, but this is the gist. He's been going back out again. I told him I wasn't comfortable yet because we never talked things through. He told me he felt forced to be with me and he didn't know who he was. I said, well, same. I wasn't about to sleep back into that. I think you mean step back into that. He said, I'm never going to get over it. And he heads out to the same old friends, and now he's gone again until 4 a.m. once or twice a week. He gets mad when I'm depressed the next day. My son is now getting suspicious of him and confused why I'm always alone and crying while dad is either working or with friends. These are my son's words, not mine. Where the hell do I go from here? Megan. Okay, Megan, thank you. That was very vulnerable. It was a very honest email. Okay, I'm going to try to give you the best advice I can here. This doesn't seem like a good situation for you based on what you told me. Now, I don't have all the information. I only have what you shared with me. But I will tell you this. I see people often, and I don't understand why. You know, there's an old, it's Henry David Thoreau quote that says, people will choose known hells over unknown heavens, because that's how much they fear change. And I see people do this all the time, and I've been guilty of this in my own life at times, of staying locked into a pattern of behavior or a bad situation or something that was unhealthy for me because it was familiar or comfortable. And it's a hard thing to break because it is true, you know. It's all ties together. Henry David Thoreau, the old, I don't know if you're familiar with Plato's cave, but it's the theory is if you were locked in a cave and all you could ever see were the shadows on the wall being projected by the light outside, and your back was to the light, and someone escaped that cave and they saw the real world outside, and they came back and they tried to convince you like, hey, these aren't real, these are shadows, there's real things happening out here, you would say they were a liar, because you were convinced that your world was real and that your viewpoint was real. Now, not to get too philosophical on a show being broadcast live from a shitter, but I say that to say this. If you can break these patterns of behavior, I think that you can, one, I would go to therapy immediately if you can afford it or you have access to it. And I do know that there are, and I wish I knew the name. I know that my partner has gone there. There are organizations in the city, in every city, that especially help give therapy, especially trauma therapy to women, especially women with children. So you should be able to get in there. The second thing I would say is I feel bad that you had a relationship and you broke it off for this guy. That's a bummer. That is a pattern of behavior of like, I don't want you until someone else does. I've seen that play out in a lot of relationships too. The minute somebody else comes sniffing around and they see value in you and you start to feel good about yourself, this is like some narcissistic gaslight behavior shit, man. And I don't mean to throw a bunch of terms around because I think those terms do get overused quite a bit. But this is some textbook like, oh, I treat you like shit. You endure my behavior. If you call me out for it, I tell you that you're crazy. I don't understand why you're depressed. This is like textbook gaslight shit where your feelings are invalid. Everything you think is stupid. Wanted nothing to do with you until someone else did. Then all of a sudden they're love bombing you again. They want to get back together. You get back together. As soon as the other person's out of the picture, boom, out being a piece of shit, staying out till 4 a.m. again. Now, you have to decide what kind of home you want your son to grow up in. And if your son is asking you those kinds of questions now as a toddler, imagine what kind of questions are going to be coming down the pike in 2nd grade, 4th grade, when they hit tweens. And by that time, you're locked in an even more destructive pattern of behavior. Now, I'm not saying people can't change and you can't go to couples therapy or marriage counseling. I advise to do all of that. But I would say seek separate counseling on your own. Don't just go to counseling with the person. If you want to try to save the marriage and save the relationship, maybe this person has a substance abuse problem. I don't know. I don't know if it's just a going out and partying situation, but I'll tell you this. Sometimes the best thing you can do to help somebody like that is leave them and make them deal with their problem on their own. Because if you're a crutch or you're unfortunately a doormat and you can constantly be the center of their abuse and somebody for them to come back and lean on after the party's over, they're most likely never going to change. So that would be my advice. As far as what you do, actionable steps, call a shelter, see if you can get into therapy, talk about this with the therapist who will give you real good advice, and, maybe get out of a situation that's bad before it gets worse. Because a lot of times I do think people stay in situations that are bad because they just don't know. The fear of being alone, or the fear of what if I never find anything better? What if this is what I deserve? A lot of times there's a lot of self-loathing and hatred mixed up in that shit. It will be better. You do deserve better. You will find someone else if that is your goal. But even if you don't find someone else, do it love yourself. Because if you love yourself, if you work on you, it's that law of attraction thing, Megan. It's like work on you and work on making the best life you can for your son. And then all of a sudden, something good will appear for you. You already found one guy. Now you made a mistake. You left this guy to get back with your ex because you probably thought it was the right thing to do for your kid. But if you found him, there'll be another, right? So, just take good care of yourself, because that is the best thing you can do. I saw a thing. I shared it on my Instagram yesterday. It was Neil Brennan talking about, relationships. Matter of fact, I'm going to see if I can pull it up real quick, because it'll put a good capper on this. Because the guy you're dating, quite frankly, maybe he's a serial killer. Do you ever think of that? Maybe that's why he's out till 4 a.m. Are you dating Pogo the Clown, Megan? Stop dating Pogo the Clown. And Megan, this would be a weird-ass fucking thing if you were dating the guy who knocked your brother's teeth out. If this was full circle, and Megan, you're dating a guy who thought he got pissed on and knocked your brother's teeth out, take your brother's side, okay? Because he seemed like an okay guy. I mean, at times it did sound like he wanted revenge and might kill this other person. And I may have been talking to several serial killers today, including you. Who knows? But here's what I will say, and I'm gonna end on this. Neil Brennan says something about, like, he used to be okay with an 80-20 friendship or a 60-40 friendship, and then he decided it's got to be 50-50. I think that goes with relationships too. Now, I think on certain days when you're in a relationship, you don't have it. You're like, I'm at 20%. Your partner has to pick up that 80. I do believe in that. But I think overall you need to be in a 50-50 relationship. And he said something about, like, he used to fool himself that in terms of enthusiasm or buy-in in a relationship or a friendship or whatever, that, that 80-20 was okay, and then he realized he finds those relationships hollow and dispiriting, and he was tired of pretending that they weren't depleting. And once you come to the fruition that they're not enriching and good for you, you can move on from them. So I would say find a way to come to those conclusions. Go to therapy. Talk to your friends. You said you had no friends in here. That's something we're not even touching on. Like, why don't you have a friend support group? Who's keeping that from happening? Is he cutting you off from the rest of the world? Are you an introvert? Do you have a hard time making friends? All the better reason. Go to a women's shelter. Find some people that are going through this with you. There are other women that'll have your back. I got your back. If nothing else, you got a friend right here at the number 2 show. You're always welcome in the next stall. And send me an email. Give me an update on what you do about this, because it sounds like you're in a bad situation, and I want anybody that listens to the show, just anybody in general, I want you to have a good life, and I want you to be happy. So email me a follow-up, and that is going to conclude our message section. And let's take a quick break from our sponsors, and we'll come back for a wrap-up. Serialkiller.com and BetterHelp.com. And we're back, baby. Today's episode brought to you by Childhood Trauma. And we're glad to be here. Man, we covered a lot today. I want to thank my compadre and my sidekick, Scott Rizzuto, for being here for the first 15 minutes to discuss serial killers, whether or not we've ever had them walking amongst us, whether or not we've met them. 22% of people believe they have. I may have talked to one or two today. I'll be honest. Kind of felt like one guy was going to be a serial killer. Or maybe he met one. But either way, we helped solve some problems. We talked about serial killers. We had a situation in the phone call segment where a guy lost his teeth and his mouth virginity. Well, not his mouth virginity, his tooth virginity to his brother-in-law. And then somebody else called in and said they met with John Wayne Gacy as a child and all kinds of childhood trauma at a children's birthday party. So much was going on, so little time to discuss. I didn't even get to the Rolling Stone stuff I want to talk about today. We'll get to that next week. But until next time, thanks for watching the number 2 show. And until I see you again, always, and I mean always, white front to back. Toodles.